Hello everyone, and welcome to TÜVSÜD's webinar on the emerging regulatory landscape for unmanned aircraft systems. My name is Rob Greenwood, and I will be your host for today. Your presenters for today's webinar are Asli Solmaz-Kaiser, who is the Global Head of Electrical and Electronic Products at TÜVSÜD, and Robert Ziegler, who is a Senior Product Specialist for toys and other childcare items. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll pass the presentation rights over to Asli. Okay, over to you, Asli.
Thank you, Rob. Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to everyone in Asia. We are happy to be here with you today for the presentation on unmanned aircraft systems. And I will go to the next slide as soon as I can do that. Okay, it works. Good. So just before we start, just some explanation on the terms that are being used in the area of drones. We have the RPAS, which is the remotely piloted aircraft system, the name Unmanned Aircraft Vehicle, UAV, and especially UAS, Unmanned Aircraft Systems, are being used pretty often. Basically, for our purposes, for this presentation, whenever we use drones or RPAS or UAV or UAS, basically, we mean the same thing. Okay, so how does the drones market look? We all know that the UAVs, UASs have been very popular in the last years, especially in the areas of toys or as hobby gadgets also for adults. And what we see is really very steep, high growth in the next years as well. Not only in the area of toy or consumer drones, but also in the area of commercial and also in the area of commercial drones. It's actually a product that gives unlimited opportunities to consumers as well as businesses and also looking at it really completely disrupting the existing business model for some of the companies in how they are being applied in the different businesses, in different commercial environments. So how does the regulatory landscape look like? Last year I was at a conference with some representatives from CPAC, which is the Consumer Product Safety Council in US. And the gentleman said, we need very urgently regulations in drones because the things are being sold. They're already in the market. I mean, one of the major online retailers have been selling these products about, they were planning, it was November last year, and they were planning to sell about 1 million pieces as for a Christmas business. In US only, and think that these products are really in the market. We hear every day what is happening because of the misuse or because of the faulty construction of the devices. So each country is trying to really speeding up all of their regulatory processes, which is not an easy process, to bring in regulations in the market to avoid any incidents happening. So you see that every country is right. So far, there is not an existing harmonized approach. There are efforts, but now existing harmonized approach. So each country, each nation is developing their own regulations. And which makes it not easy for a manufacturer, of course, or for a retailer. Like you buy the product, and for each country, you have to have a different type of permission. You have to have a different type of testing. So it makes the whole market a bit more complicated. So we have right now within Europe a number of countries already have released their drafts or their regulations, as well as in Europe, like the EASA regulations for Europe, which my colleague Robert is going to touch upon in the next slide. What we generally see in terms of regulations is that the drones are being taken for different categories. So they will take, okay, this is a consumer drone, then it is a toy, this is a consumer, this is a commercial drone needing special permissions. So the approach is the same. The funny thing is that the categorization is being done differently for the different countries. So in one side, maybe you're a toy, in another country, you're a normal consumer product. And as I said, this is kind of a challenge for the manufacturers to make sure that they meet the regulations, and also for the retailers and buyers to make sure they meet the different regulations in the different countries. So what we have developed so far to help manufacturers enter the different markets is that we have two programs. One of them is focusing on the consumer drones, and the other one is focusing on toy drones. So the consumer drones will ensure the electrical safety, the battery safety. Battery safety is extremely critical here because these devices need to be lightweight, and small. So the batteries do have a high energy density to be able to fly for a certain time. And then you have functional safety to make sure that the drone is really doing what you're asking it to do. Takes all the commands and execute it in the correct manner. And we have the mechanical safety, which is very much about the propellers on the drones, that they do not injure people. We have foreseeable misuse. What if you do not use the product as described in the user manual, as well as the chemical safety regulations. On top of this, of course, we help manufacturers or the operators of these products in verifying the user manual and also other instructions to make sure that the product, from a liability perspective, also that the necessary information to give to the consumers are existing there. And then we have the toy side of the drones, which is according to the toy directive of European regulations, so which will ensure the mechanical safety, the flammability, chemical safety, so which is very critical for children's products, the electrical, battery safety, and foreseeable misuse. Although it looks very similar from a criteria perspective, the levels for the different products falling under the consumer or toy directive is going to change. So I will now leave the word to my colleague. Yeah.
So good morning, everybody. My name is Robert Ziegler. I will present the next slides for you. Because the market is exploding with these products, the sales rising, also the incidents rising, and there is also a lot of discussions in the media about the products, and also on the politics side. And for example, this is a newspaper, German newspaper, which is showing the headline that the German Bundesregierung is planning a driving license for drones. And so you see that's also discussed very well in the media over the last time. And another slide, excuse me, that was, okay, that's the next slide. And there is always the discussion, are the products aviation products, and are they also considered as consumer products. And for sure, yes, they are aviation products. The left party in the German Bundestag make an inquiry to the government, and the answer of the government was clearly drones have to follow the existing laws for aviation products. They are considered as aircraft or aviation products regardless of the weight, except they are toys. Only toys are excluded from these requirements. And also the German government said that all aviation systems are subject to a permission by the federal states in Germany. And so all the persons who use the products can be tracked and are known. So we have collected some information about the legal background. What is the aviation laws and what are the product laws which are applicable to this product? And we focus on the European side and especially on the German side because that's in the moment very important for us. So the German aviation law says that all unmanned aviation systems require permission. The permission is given by the federal states of Germany. So, for example, Bavaria or Berlin, there are several states in Germany which can give the permission. Excuse me. And the permission by the states is given according to a common principle, which is communicated by the German authorities. So for these products, we have general operation regulations, and this is always within the sight of the operator. The maximum altitude which you can use this product is up to 100 meters, and the total mass is up to 25 kilograms. In Germany, we have a long tradition for flight models, and this is also reflecting the German regulations now for this kind of products, for UAS as well. As soon as a product is only used for hobby or recreational use, it is considered as a flight model, and so it has the same requirements like a flight model. And there we have the weight limit up to 25 kilograms. A flight model, or in this, if it's UAS is used as hobby or recreational use, up to a mass of 5 kilograms. And if it's used outside of restricted areas, and as soon as it is electric driven, it needs not a permission by the state. So it can be used by everybody without a permission. On the other side, if a UAS or a flight model is heavier than 5 kilograms, or it has a rocket motor or combustion engine, or it will be used in restricted areas, then it needs a permission by the state as well. So, additional to this aviation laws, we see the German product safety law, which is covering the safety requirements for products on the market. And in our point of view, this law is also applicable for this kind of products. And in this German product safety law, there is the reference to European directives and regulations as well. And here is a list of directives which will be applicable for drones as well. The toy directives under certain special circumstances. The machinery directive is under discussion if it's applicable or not, because in the moment the machinery directive is not addressing vehicles. So it's under discussion, but for sure the RT&T directive or RED directive is applicable. The General Product Safety Directive is applicable. EMC requirements are applicable. REACH, ROS, POP regulation, these are chemical regulations for products in Europe. They are applicable as well. Additional legal requirements we always have to respect, and the German consumers are looking very strong on these requirements, is the personal rights questions. So protection of general personal rights, data protection, ownership and copyright protection. And also there is a legal requirement for insurance. So as soon as you use a flight model or as soon as you will use the drone, also for recreational use, you need an insurance. So we had a lot of discussions about the borderline between a drone and a toy. And I know every year I am on the toy fair in Nuremberg, which is the biggest fair for toys. And there are a lot of drones shown in the show as well. So many manufacturers have this kind of product on the booth. And there's always an ongoing discussion. What is it? Is it an aviation product? Is it a toy? Is it a consumer product? And so the German experience exchange for giving GS marks to products, there is a subgroup which is dealing with the safety of toys. This is named EK2 AKA22, which is responsible for the GS certification of toys. And there we made some discussions, and we also came to a conclusion how we will classify this kind of products as toys. For the expert in this committee, in this experience exchange, it was very important to say we will not accept drones with cameras as toys, because children are not able to handle the legal requirements for privacy. Children cannot know or will not know these requirements and will not act according to that. So for the German GS institutes, it was the main point that these toy drones not allowed to have any photo or video functions. Additional, they must have behavior which is applicable for children. So they should have a simple operation and flight functions, no complex maneuvers, no complex settings or tuning possibilities, easy construction, a short flight time, and it should be clearly sold over toy stores or specially advertised for children. Normally the sizes of these children or toy drones is up to 200 grams approximately, and maybe a diameter of 50 centimeters. So this is for the bigger children. They can use it outdoor. Or some of the products are also for indoor use and for smaller children, up to 50 grams, for example. There's a special procedure in the toy directive that if the harmonized standards for toy safety are not enough to assess the safety of the product, or the harmonized standards do not have a regulation for this kind of toy, then a type examination by a notified body is needed. So this is also possible for this kind of drones. For example, if the rotor is not protected by a protection ring, or maybe if lithium-ion batteries are used, then we see a need for type examination. Now, this means before the manufacturer can place the CE mark on the product, he needs to go to a notified body, and the notified body has to do the safety assessment according to the toy directive. There's also a lot of activities on the European level. The European Union and the Agency for Aviation, the EASA, is also seeing a need to improve European regulations for drones. And therefore, it's also an ongoing discussion and ongoing lawmaking process on the European level. I will show some information about that, but as I clearly want to state, it's under development, and so changes are possible in the next time. So we will see what's happening. The EASA published on their website 2 documents concerning drones. The latest one is the technical opinion you can see on the right side. And there, a group of experts makes proposals and suggestions for the lawmaking process of the EASA. And therefore, we will show some of the main points out of this proposal. There are 3 categories proposed on the document. The first category will be the open category. Then there will be a specific operations category and a certified category. Our focus and our presentation today is only talking about the open categories, where we will have the consumer products and toys mainly in this category. And there are other categories we will not look today. So the proposal for the open category was the maximum take-off mass up to 25 kilograms. Then there was a proposal to limit toy weight up to 1 kilo, but this is also still under discussions. It's not clear in the moment. But for sure, the products always must be used under the visual line of sight. The maximum altitude is up to 150 meters over ground or water. And there will be a need for the member states to define no drone zones and limited drone zones. And it's also planned that the users, the operators, need a basic aviation awareness, so a special training or knowledge about air safety or aviation safety. The pilot is responsible for the safety, so the operator is responsible. He is responsible for the separation from other airspaces and airspace users. And he is not allowed to fly over crowd. Here was the proposal about 12 persons is considered as crowd. And it's also proposed to make regulations or standards for geofencing and identification. So this means that drones in a special category, they need automatic geofencing system and identification system in the drone as well. The member states, the competent authorities in the member states, they have to identify these no drone zones and the limited drone zones. And it is under discussion that there will be a unified database in Europe where manufacturers and also operators can download the actual data for these no drone zones and limited zones. And so it should not be possible to start the UAS system then in these zones. It will be blocked by software. And therefore, it's also a need for developing standards to set limits and test methods for these requirements. There will be a lot of work in the next years coming for this kind of products. The open category was divided in 3 subcategories. So the subcategory A0 is for small toys and mini drones. Category A1, very small drones, and category A2 for small drones. I will show some examples or explanation for that. So there was the discussions for category A0 from 0 kilograms to 999 grams. But I also would say these weight limits are not fixed in the moment. They are under discussion as well, but that was in the proposal. The mainly cheap consumer drones, devices following the owner, teaser balloons and kites were also under discussion to bring in these regulations, and also the toys. These products in these categories also have to comply to the product directives, so the General Product Safety Directive and all other applicable directives. And in the end, they also need to have a CE mark on the product to show whether the manufacturer gives this as confirmation labeling that he is complying to the European directives. These products in the category A0, they should fly up to 50 meters, or they need an automatic limit device to limit the altitude, and it should not be used over 50 meters. The category A1 is the better performing consumer products, most of them with navigation system already implemented. They have automation system and high performances, can carry payload like cameras, and they are from the weight can have a risk for persons or goods, because the weight limit which was proposed or which is under discussion is from 1 to 4 kilograms for that. Also for this kind of products, the European product directives should be applicable. So in the end, there is also a CE marking necessary for this. They need means to automatically limit the airspace they can enter. So for example, the geofencing, which is under discussion for that. Also means of automatic identification is under discussions. They should be operated under 50 meters, but it's also possible to use them up to 150 meters, but then the pilot needs a basic aviation awareness. And the category A2 That are the high-price products. Most of them have high-definition camera systems, and they are more for the enthusiastic people using this kind of products. They can have more than 4 kilograms weight, up to 25 kilograms weight, and they also have to comply to the European product directives, which means they also need a CE mark in the end. They have the same requirements for automatic limit the airspace, automatic identification, and there are requirements for use in limited drone zones, which have been defined. The pilot also needs the basic aviation awareness as soon as he wants to use the product over 50 meters up to 150 meters. That is one of the proposals from the EASA about the use of the different categories in different areas. So, for example, the green area is not restricted areas up to 150 meters. And there you can see below 50 meters, you can use everything without pilot competence. Over 50 meters, you need the competence and you need to know about the aviation safety. Okay, thank you. That was my part in the moment.